Good evening, everybody. I'm Sam Hua, and it's my pleasure to share my book, Sun Tzu's Art of War, a modern exposition with you here at the National University of Singapore. My English is not particularly good, and I have really spent a lot of time preparing for this talk. However, I still could only complete the presentation part, and when it comes to Q&A, I will ask Ms. Tan to translate for me. Thank you for your understanding. There are two major books written on warfare. One of them is The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and the other is On War by 18th century Prussian strategist Karl von Clausewitz. Even though On War was written 2,700 years after Art of War, Liddell Hart, a modern British military theorist, said, compared to Art of War, On War is dated. This is Art of War's position in the history of military theory. The topic of my talk today is the basic logic of Art of War's 13 chapters. Yes, there are 13 chapters in the book, and like most books on warfare, strategy is covered first, which is followed by tactics and skills. The first 4 chapters deal with the principles of strategy. Chapter 5 to 7 cover the principles of tactics, and 8 to 11 focus on different terrains and the technical points of marching, camping, and scouting. Chapter 12 deal with the use of fire as a weapon, and the last one, Chapter 13, the use of spies. I've summed up the ideas of Sun Tzu's book in one sentence: master your own business and you'll never lose. Sound like chicken soup for the soul, doesn't it? But this is Sun Tzu's Art of War. Shouldn't the focus be on the battle against the enemy or not yourself? That's why I always say that if the whole world understands the art of war, there would be no more wars. The central ideas of Art of War can be summarized in 3 parts. First, Art of War is not about how to wage a war, but how not to engage in war. Second, Art of War is not about how to win a war, but how to reinforce yourself against defeat. Third, Art of War is not about how to win a battle, but the theory of winning before fighting. The first thing Sun Tzu tells us is not to wage war, because once you start, things get out of your control, just like the current situation in Europe. If you don't start a war, everything will be fine. If you do it, there will be no way to see the light at the end of tunnel. The second thing is that you shouldn't always think about defeating the enemy, just like we always want to talk about defeating our competitors in business. In fact, your competition is not something that you can defeat. There's no one that you can beat. Everyone's defeat is their own defeat, just like Apple and Nokia. Apple didn't beat Nokia because he didn't attack Nokia at all. It was Nokia itself that lost due to their own mistakes. If Nokia had not made their mistakes, Apple wouldn't have been able to defeat them. Is it a no aspiration to go undefeated instead of aiming for victory? I don't think so. For example, when Warren Buffett talks about investing, he gives 2 pieces of advice. Rule number 1, don't lose your capital. Rule number 2, follow rule number 1. Since he has been investing for 50 years and hasn't lost his capital every single year, which is a lifetime of being undefeated. The cumulative victory would be large. When you invest in stock, everyone has caught big bulls and have had huge victories, but often one failure and you would have lost everything. That's why it's important to be undefeated. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to share with you my realm of life, which is to be never defeated in our whole life. That is the real art of war. I'd like to change it with lifetime. Never defeated in lifetime.
In our lifetime.
In our lifetime.
Yes.
Better than in our whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In our lifetime. That's in Chinese. 一生不败. Okay. Lifetime. 一生. Now, I'll talk specifically about the 13 chapters of Sun Tzu's Art of War. Chapter 1, Ji, Calculations. The first chapter is called Ji in Chinese. Even most Chinese people get the first word wrong in their understanding of the art of war, and the translators are included. They think Ji is just about stratagems, because there's another ancient Chinese book on warfare called 36G, or in English, 36 Stratagems. It's wrong, E. But they are not really stratagems. They are more like schemes. There are 36 big ideas to deceive your enemy. But in art of war, Ji means to calculate. This is the issue in the Chinese language, particularly in traditional Chinese. Ji has three meanings. One is idea, second is plans, and the third is calculations. Why do people regard it as ideas? Because everyone wishes to have a great idea, and a book like Art of War may have a lot of great ideas, more than 36, that's why we read it. But the first thing I'd like to share with you is these ideas are not important in Art of War, and I'm not a big fan of the book 36G. I don't like it. As I said just now, Art of War teaches us to avoid wars, not fighting them. Because a war has great risks. When we think about waging a war, we must calculate if we can win. If we are sure we will win, we may do it. If we are not sure, don't do it. This is the main idea behind chapter 1. By the logic, first question, do or not to do. Second, the plan on how to do. And the third is the big idea. By the logic, the big idea is actually quite small. Napoleon also spoke about this calculation, saying that it was a mathematic problem that even Isaac Newton would have struggled with. What would Sun Tzu's attitude, not D, it's wrong, have been towards this exceedingly difficult mathematical problem? I think he would have said, since you find this difficult, it proves that the chances of winning are not obvious. If it's not obvious, don't fight. In business, there's a term called risk appetite. Sun Tzu's appetite of risk are very low. Napoleon's appetite of risk, on the other hand, was obviously much higher. Ladies and gentlemen, think about your own risk appetite. My risk appetite is very low. If your risk appetite is low, you will like the book, Sun Tzu's Art of War. If you are a person with a high risk appetite,